Hey, this is Eric over at TechnoRV, and I have made detailed videos on almost all of the products that we sell. And it occurred to me that I have never made just short videos on each one of them, just briefly going over what the product is and what it does. So Tammy challenged me to line up all of our products on our conveyor belt in our warehouse here and give me 2 minutes or less per product, kind of like a speed round, and go through it and just explain each one of them. So that is what we are about to do, and it starts right now in 3, 2, 1. WeBoost cellular booster. So you're out camping, you have poor cell signal, you want to boost that signal strength, the cell signal strength from the cell tower to you, and a cell booster is a great way to do it. WeBoost is the industry standard, and basically what this does is in this kit you have an outside antenna that brings in the cellular signal, the weak cellular signal from the local cell tower. It runs it through this amplifier right here. It boosts it from the amplifier, and then you'll have an inside antenna that sits in your RV, and that rebroadcasts that boosted zone, and as long as your devices are in that boosted zone, then it's going to be boosted. Now the size of that boosted zone can vary, and it really is dependent on what that originating signal strength is. So if you have a really weak cell signal, then the boosted zone will be smaller. Think speaking through like a megaphone. If you whisper in it, it doesn't do much. The louder you speak, the more it projects, right? So kind of the same way with this. If you're starting off with a weak signal, then it's going to not create a big zone. It might be like a foot or two. But if you've kind of got a good signal outside, then it's going to project further. Maybe you'll get 8 to 10 feet out of it. As long as your devices are in that boosted zone, you're good to go. A lot of times people will use hotspots, and they'll just place that hotspot next to the inside antenna here. The hotspot you know is getting boosted, and then you can just connect all of your devices to that. This kit comes with everything that you need in it: the antenna, the amplifier, the inside antenna, the cabling, whatever you need, it's in here. Again, it's WeBoost, it's the industry standard, and that does it. That's how it works for cell boosters in under 10 minutes. 2 minutes. All right, the next product. Tire pressure monitoring systems. That's not running. Tire pressure monitoring systems. Tires, everything's riding on them, and the number one thing that any tire expert will tell you that you can do for your tires is make sure they're running at proper PSI. To properly do that, you need to have your RV weighed, preferably at each tire position, and then apply those weights to the load inflation chart for your tire's manufacturer. And then that'll just tell you what PSI you should be running. Once you know what your PSI is, then it's just a matter of making sure you keep it at that PSI. Tire pressure monitoring systems are great for that. We have TST and Tire Minder at TechnoRV, and basically what this is you'll have a small sensor that screws onto each valve stem on your vehicle, and then you'll have a monitor that sits up in your vehicle with you. These sensors broadcast forward your temperature and your pressure of each tire position. And so basically what this means is that if you were to have a condition, you would be alarmed. Typically what will happen is maybe you pick up a nail and your pressure starts to go down. You don't know it. And as your pressure goes down on your tire, your temperature goes up. When the tire hits 200 degrees or maybe a little north of 200 degrees, the compounds in the tire start to break down. That's when you have a tire blowout. So I can't stress it enough, having a tire pressure monitoring system to know if you're in a situation to where that's happened. In most cases, it will prevent a tire blowout. And so just by having these devices, I'm not going to get into the specifics of each one of them. Both of them are great. I personally use the TST system, but lots of happy Tire Minder users out there as well. And so anyway, tire pressure monitoring, super important, and that is how they work in 2 minutes or less. Okay, this is the Visionworks rear observation cameras. And so basically you want great field of vision around your RV as you're traveling down the road, and one critical piece of this is to have a good rear observation system. So there's a lot of them on the market, and Visionworks is the one that we chose for a lot of reasons. One, it's got a 3-year warranty over 1-year warranty that competitors have. It's got a better durability rating. The clarity on the monitor is just unbelievable. They use a Sony camera. So no cheap stuff. I'm talking about metal casing cameras. And basically these units come in a 5-inch monitor, a 7-inch monitor, and a 9-inch monitor. And so, and the other cool thing about these is that if you have a RV that maybe has a pre-wired like Furrion mount on it or a pre-wired Voyager mount, these systems will work with that, because when you place an order, you just say, hey, I've got the pre-wired Furrion mount, and then we would send you basically the adapter for that particular mount. So the install is really easy on these things. They just take 12-volt power. It is all wireless. So once you get power to that camera, you don't have a hard wire running up forward to your monitor where you sit. The static range on these things is 1,000 feet. Of course, you're never going to get 1,000 feet because that's not the real world for us. You've got your RV in between you and who knows what else. But basically, the fact that the static range is even 1,000 feet is pretty amazing. But getting through, I've tested it on my 41-foot motorhome. I put the camera on the back of my Jeep, so I mean, we're probably 50, 60 feet or something like that. Signal came through good. So anyway, it's Visionworks. It is an excellent system, great clarity, easy to install, and there you go, Visionworks. Okay, the next product up is a SoftStart device, and basically what a SoftStart device is, these are for your AC units. So your AC unit, whenever you turn your AC unit on, it spikes the amperage in order to start the air conditioner, right? And then after that spike, which is basically like a 1/6 of a second, it basically comes back down to what its running level is. And so that spike can oftentimes be a problem if you are, say, in a 30 amp RV and you want to run your RV on, say, a 2,000 watt generator, a 2,200 watt generator. That amperage spike can often trip those generators. So if you install a SoftStart onto your air conditioner unit on a 30 amp model, then basically what it does is it levels out that spike so that it basically is just not there. I mean, it might take your spike from like 60 amps down to like 24 or 25 amps or somewhere around there. Basically the way it does this is if it took this much time to start it without the SoftStart, which whatever time that is, less than a second, it might take double that, but it's still less than a second. You would never even know the difference. And so basically by just increasing that startup by a fraction of a second, it can level out that amperage. Now, if you have a 50 amp rig and you're on a 30 amp pedestal, you know you can't run 2 AC units. But if you put a SoftStart on each AC unit, by eliminating that spike, now as a 50 amp RV, I can run 2 air conditioners on a 30 amp pedestal. And the install is easy, the brand SoftStart, and it's a great product. One of my favorites, Surge Guard electrical protection system. So I've got 2 of them here. One of them's 50 amp if you're in a 50 amp rig. One of them's 30 amp if you're in a 30 amp rig. So let's just get that out of the way. You always need to match this to whatever your RV is. If you're in a 30 amp rig, get this one. If you're in a 50 amp rig, get this one. And then adapt from there. So these, like if I'm in a 50 amp RV and I'm using this one, but I only have a 30 amp pedestal, then just use a 30 amp female to a 50 amp, a 30 amp male to a 50 amp female adapter, and this will work just fine. And then you can adapt this one up if there was only 50 amp. So what do these things do? So there's a lot of things that can go wrong with a pedestal. When you plug these in and turn the breaker on, it runs a 10-second analysis. It's making sure there's a ground, a neutral, and there's no reverse polarity issues. If there is one of these issues on its initial inspection, then it won't pass the power through to you, and it'll tell you on this on the front of this unit right here what the fault is. But let's say everything is fine. It clicks, passes the power off to you, and then what it's doing from there, it's protecting you against surges and also high and low voltage. High and low voltage, anything from 102 volts up to 132 volts. If you get outside of that range, and these are ranges set by the National Electrical Code, this isn't something that we just came up with. If you get outside of that range, which is considered high and low voltage, this will cut you off from it because, for example, low voltage, that's just not safe for the electronic components in your RV. You don't want to be running on low voltage. This will cut you off. If it does cut you off, it will run an analysis, and when things come back up to spec, it'll cut you back on. So if you're out for dinner, you come back, your power had gone off, it's just going to cut it right back on for you. This one also has load side protection. It can detect elevated ground currents and open neutral conditions inside of your RV. And my 2 minutes are up. These things are great. If you need more detail, go look at my, my video where I did a detailed video. Sorry. Tammy, can you roll these up for me? Okay, so Pepwave. There is no way I'm getting through all this in 2 minutes. I have made detailed videos on everything. It says Pepwave is a cellular router. So you provide your own SIM card with your own data plan on it, and it goes into a Pepwave cellular router. This has been a game changer for us out on the road. They come in single modem and dual modem versions. The dual modem, you can actually be running 2 different carriers at one time. And when you're doing this, it can do something called bonding, and basically it can take both of those carriers and sort of bond them together and then represent it to you as a better experience. If you get a single modem unit, then you can still put 2 carriers in it, but it'll only run one at a time. And so you can manually go back and forth. So if you got, say, an AT&T and a T-Mobile, and in a particular area T-Mobile's better than AT&T, well then you can just manually swap it over to the T-Mobile version there. So there's many different category levels. The higher the category level means the higher the theoretical speed. So we have Cat 6s, Cat 12s, and Cat 18s, and then we've got single modems and dual modems also. So, you know, for us, it just means that when we have our carriers built into the unit, we know that that's just being managed properly. It's always going to have me where I need to be to get the best experience out of it. There is so much more to the Pepwave. I'm running out of my 2 minutes here, and I don't want to just ramble on it because I don't have time to do it anyway. Go check out my comparison video on all of the Pepwave units and the features video on the Pepwave units, and that will get you all the details that you need. Next up, Garmin RV GPSs. So you're in an RV. My RV is over 13 feet tall. A lot of the fifth wheels are. Even travel trailers can be tall. You've got your width, your length, how many propane tanks you have. All of these things should be taken into consideration on how you're routed to go down the road. When I started RVing, it was one of the things that I was worried about the most is this big RV. Like, I don't want to turn down a road and have like a low bridge that I can't go under. So Garmin has these RV GPSs. There's many models of them, and they all have specific different features in the unit, and you'll just have to go to the product page and check out what those are. But here's what it is. When you get one of these units, the navigation is all the same no matter what unit you get. You're going to enter your height, your weight, how many propane tanks you have, and then it's going to route you according to that. So immediately it turns into kind of stress-free at that point, because you know that this is not going to route you down a road that you're not designed to be on, especially those low bridges, because we hear these stories from RVers that this happens to them. And this is the answer for them. They come in 7, 8, and 10-inch screens. So if you like a bigger screen, you can get the 10-inch. 7's fine, or the 8. Also, there are tons of RVing points of interest with these RV GPSs. All of your campgrounds, all of your travel centers, all those fuel stops. There's a lot of creative ways that you can make multi-stop trips to where before your trip gets started, you can just go and just chart out, hey, where I want to go, and then just save that trip in this unit. So all these things, even if you're in a smaller RV, all of these points of interest and different things like that can be a great help. So it's the Garmin RV GPS. Viair is next up. These are tire inflators. There are 4 models. Let me go through that real quick. This is the 89 right here. This is designed for Class Bs. The 300 is designed for smaller towables. The 400 is designed for larger towables and Class Cs, and then the 450 model is designed for Class As. These are very well built units, and a lot of RVers love these things, and I love mine too. So basically what you've got is you've got a unit that operates off 12 volt power. So you're going to have 2 clips that you're going to pop straight to a battery. So if you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't have power and all you have to depend on is your DC power, you're still going to be able to air up your tires, and that is a big feature of the Viairs to be able to do that. You can connect it to your truck batteries. If you do that, you need to make sure the truck is turned on to keep the amperage level up on the batteries, or you can plug it directly to your RVing batteries, in which case your RV needs to be plugged into shore power, again, to keep that amperage level built up. So talking specifically about the 400 model and the 450 model, those come with a few extra little features. They come with a gas station style air gun and a 40-inch extended chuck that you can attach to that air gun. That allows you to connect to your valve stem and air up while you're standing up to save the knees of just having to be down there with your tire. They've all got like a tips kit to air up different little things. So, and they're very, very powerful. I'm talking about the 400 and 450 models are up to 150 PSI for those bigger tires. And then of course the 89 and the 300 are more appropriate for those size tires for those RVs. Viair, they are spectacular. Okay, this is the Smart Plug. And basically, if you're in like a towable and you go to connect your power up to your towable, typically they'll have like a twist lock style plug, and the pins are curved, and you stick it in there and turn it, and then you got a little collar that you'll twist. That design is a very old design, and Smart Plug just came up with a better one. So there's a couple of things that are not great about that old design. First of all, just putting the plug in there, twisting it, and trying to get that little plastic collar lined up and not cross-threading it. If you've used one of these, you absolutely know what I'm talking about. It can be a little bit of an issue whenever you're connecting. Also, those curved pins, they don't offer I'm not going to say not enough surface space to get the job done, but the surface space, and what I mean by that is that when the pins come together, right? So Smart Plug thought, hey, we're just going to make a better unit. So basically what this is you would replace your inlet, so no more twist lock plugs, and you would replace the head on your power cord to match up with the inlet, or you can get an inlet and then just buy an entire cord with the Smart Plug head already attached to it. It's a completely just snap in place type unit. You push it, you hear a snap, and it's in there. No issues. The other thing is they've made the electrical pins much thicker and wider for the plug, and it provides for better electrical transfer, reduces the heat on that plug. There's been plenty of tests run with the difference between the Smart Plug and one of those other style plugs. The heat is reduced whenever you use a Smart Plug, and you have better electrical transfer because of those thicker pins. Install's easy. You can do it. That's Smart Plug. It's a great upgrade for your RV. Next up is the Gas Stop Automatic Propane Shutoff. So on your existing propane tank, you've got a couple of safety devices, neither one of which can provide 100% automatic shutoff to your propane tank should you have a cut line or something like that. So what you have is you have something called a OPD. That's an overfill protection device that was, they put these on these propane devices like back in 1998. It's good, keeps you from overfilling your tank, and it's also the device that keeps you from, when there's not a connection on that tank and you just open it it does not free flow, which that's great, right? Back in the day, you could turn that and it would just free flow. So OPD, excellent device. Beyond that, the part that you screw on to the tank from your line has something in it that there's basically like a spring-loaded device in there. It's called an excess flow valve. If you were to have a large leak, it would cut off somewhere around 80% of that leak. That's what that excess flow valve is. That's great, but it still leaves that 20%. In comes gas stop. This device connects right to your propane tank, and then you just connect your line directly to this. And if you have a line cut or a line rupture or anything like that, it's going to instantly and automatically cut your propane off to your RV. There's also something called gas gear, and it basically replaces your line from your propane tank to the gas stop. It's not required, but it does have a 90-degree turn here, and sometimes that makes it easier to have in case you've got one of those cases that goes on over your propane tanks. And sometimes if you don't have this, that case won't go over once you add this length to it. So that is the gas stop device. One more, people. Wi-Fi boosting. You're in an RV park and you want to connect to the RV's Wi-Fi access point, which most of them have. There's two issues you can have with this. One of them you can resolve and one of them you can't. One is a signal issue. A lot of times you're 150 yards away from the access point, and that little Wi-Fi adapter in your phone or your tablet or your computer, it's really not designed to reach out that far and grab a signal. And so signal can be an issue. The other issue is bandwidth. That's how much basically internet that particular RV park provides for you to be online. So if they've got if they've appropriated enough bandwidth for say 50 RVers and they got 100 people in the park, then that's going to slow the pipeline down and everybody's probably not going to have a great experience. That's the one you can't do anything about. That's on the park. But this issue of signal from you to the access point, you can absolutely do something about that, and you do that with something called a Wi-Fi booster. This is the CamPro kit, super popular, and basically what it is you have an outside antenna that goes and picks up that weak signal from that access point. It brings it into your RV where you will have a signal repeater, and basically this just creates your own hotspot within your RV. Now, and they can be password protected, they're totally encrypted. Now from my device, instead of me trying to connect 150 yards away, I just got to connect like 5 feet away in my own RV where this repeater is, and the outside antenna is what did the job to get the signal in. So it's a stronger transmitter, a stronger antenna, and they are spectacular. A lot of people use them, and they will definitely resolve the issue with low signal strength in an RV park. And that does it, people. That is all of our major products. Tammy's behind the camera. How did I do?
Well done.
All right, 2 minutes or less on all of it. And I'm happy to do it because I like talking about all this stuff. Again, I just want to reemphasize, this was just meant for some people just want a quick rundown of sort of what we got, what it does, what the problem is, and how this resolves it. That's what you got today. If you want more details about each one of these products, I've got videos on these that really go into details about all of this. So I don't want to bypass those. If you want more on an individual product, just go over there and do that. This is Eric at TechnoRV, and we will see you down the road.